All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to start with the basic electrical engineering subject. Will start with the module one. And in the previous session, we just looked into the introduction of this particular subject, how it is, like how many modules are there, what are the aspects that are covered in basic electrical engineering, and also we understood what is the importance of basic electrical engineering for any kind of a engineer. So why we need to have this knowledge with respect to whether we are going to become a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer or a electronics and communication engineer or any other engineer. So with that understanding, we will start the module one. In the module one, we are going to see the DC circuits and AC fundamentals. Those are the two broad categories that will be covered. In case of a DC circuits, we are going to see Ohm's law and Kirchhoff's law, analysis of series and parallel and series parallel combination circuits excited by independent voltage sources. And we will understand the concept of what is a power and what is energy. In case of a AC fundamentals, we are going to learn about. So there are two types of currents we have. One is the direct current and the second one is the alternating current. What is a direct current is? Direct current has a fixed direction. Okay, it has a magnitude and it has a fixed direction. If we apply a direct voltage to any circuit, then we will definitely know will be the direction of the current. In case of the AC, as the name suggests, alternating current, the magnitude and or the direction of the alternating current, it keeps on changing. Okay? So continuously it will be changing with the time. So either a magnitude can change or direction can change or both can change. So those are called as a alternating currents. And out of all the alternating currents, there are many ways of achieving the alternating currents. And for example, we can have a square wave, triangular wave, any other type of wave. But for electrical application, we are going to use the sinusoidal voltage, unless and until we don't specify other forms of alternating current. When we say alternating current, it will always follows sinusoidal. Okay, it would be always a sinusoidal waveform. And in this AC fundamentals, we will understand generation of sinusoidal voltage, and every alternating quantity has certain entities associated with. That is how we will be able to understand and comprehend those alternating quantities. And so what are the things that we need to understand is alternating quantities will have a frequency, okay, frequency of the generated voltage, and definition and numerical values of average value, root mean square value. These are the how to represent the alternating quantities. These are the two ways we will learn in detail when we deal with this. So alternating quantities are represented in terms of a average value and root mean square or the RMS value. So when we ask, like if I ask you what is your household voltage, what is your household voltage? Anybody?
240.
240 volts, right? So when you are saying 240 volts, and you know it is a alternating quantity, isn't it? Is that correct? It's an alternating quantity. What the supply you get?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we are saying it is an alternating quantity, but we are saying a fixed number, 240. As we understand alternating quantity, it keeps on changing, but we are saying a fixed value. So every alternating quantity can be represented as a RMS value. So when you say 240 volts, that is the RMS value of our household supply. We will understand in detail how we get that RMS value, why we have to represent alternating quantity in RMS value. So there are two ways to represent. One is average value and root mean square value. All the voltages, currents that you talked about alternating current, they are represented in the RMS value. And for the same, there will be other factors, form factor and peak factor, that is associated with the sinusoidal quantity. So form factor and peak factor of sinusoidally varying voltage and current. Then phasor representation of alternating quantities. So alternating quantities, how we can represent, we will see it in detail. Just for a brief understanding, alternating quantities can be represented as a waveform, as we know, sinusoidal waveform, or mathematically I can represent as a equation. So how alternating quantities are represented? For example, voltage V is equal to Vm sin omega t. Okay, that is the way we represent the mathematically. And we can represent the alternating quantity using average value. We can represent alternating quantities using a RMS value. Then there is one more representation, that is a phasor representation. This phasor representation is very, very useful in doing the analysis. This phasor representation we are going to extensively use. Here we will understand what is phasor representation, how to do the phasor representation for the alternating quantities, and this concept is extensively used in the module 2, where we do the AC circuit analysis. We have RLC, RC and RLC circuits. When we are doing that analysis, the understanding of the phasor representation will immensely help there. So we'll start with the first part of the module 1, that is DC circuit. So what is a circuit? Circuit is nothing but it is a closed path, okay, closed path consisting of some active elements and some passive elements. And what are the active elements? Active elements are like a EMF source, or you can call it as a battery source, voltage source. All those things are same. When we talk about EMF, that is electromotive force, synonymously we will use it with the voltage, okay, EMF source or the voltage source. So this is the active element. What is the active element? Active element is the one which imparts energy to the circuit. This is a very simple circuit. We have a battery or the voltage source or the EMF source, and through wires, you can see this is the positive plate of the battery. Using a wire, it is connected to one resistor, and another negative terminal is connected to another end of the resistor. So it will make a closed path. Whenever there is a closed path and there is a voltage source, the current will start flowing. And in this case, the DC stands for the direct current. What is a direct current? Is the direction of the current is fixed. And how to know the direction of the current? The conventional flow of the current is from the positive plate, it goes through the load or the resistor and it comes back to the negative plate. So let us not worry too much about which way the electrons flow. Just we will go with the conventional direction of the electric current. Conventional direction of the electric current is from the positive plate of the voltage source. And how to identify the positive plate? This line would be bigger than this line. So the bigger vertical line is considered as a positive, and smaller vertical line is represented as a negative terminal. So this is a negative terminal and this is the positive terminal, and definitely we know current will flow in this direction. Okay, from here it will go to A, B, and it will come back to the negative plate. So active elements such as voltage source, EMF source, they impart energy to the circuit. So they give energy to the circuit. And on the other hand, resistor is the passive element we call. They consume the power. So in case of this circuit, based on the resistance value, it will consume the power here. And whenever we have a resistor and there is a closed path, current will flow, right? The current will flow through the resistor. When current is flowing through that particular resistor, we will have a voltage drop, or you can say voltage across that particular resistor. If you check the voltage across A and B, it would be V. So in this case, we have only one resistor. So whatever the voltage we have applied here, that voltage will be dropped across resistor R. And when I say voltage, EMF, or voltage drop or voltage different, you can think it as a synonymous. So just assume that if I have a voltmeter, I hope everybody knows what is a voltmeter. Voltmeter is the instrument which is used to measure the voltage. Okay, if I connect the voltmeter between node A and node B, whatever the voltage is shown, you can call it as voltage across resistor, voltage difference across resistor, or potential across resistor, potential difference across resistor. These are the different terminology that you can use synonymously. Okay, what is a DC circuit? It's a closed path followed by a DC current is called as a DC circuit. And direct current starts from positive terminal of the voltage source and flows to negative terminal of the battery or the voltage source through the load, via load. When I say load, load is always a resistor. In case of a DC circuit, what is a load? Meaning of the load is the one, load is the one which consumes power or it takes current. Okay, to be very like layman's language, it consumes power or it dissipates power. So the only type of a load in case of a DC circuit is a resistive load. Okay, we don't have a capacitive or the inductive load. We have a everything, whatever you connect in a DC circuit, that can be represented as a resistor. The current flows from positive plate through the resistor or the load, and it comes back to the negative plate. Load for DC circuit is always resistance, so you have to remember this. So whatever you connect, suppose you have any DC device, let us say you have a bulb, okay, a small bulb which works on DC. That bulb is representative of a resistor. Okay, when you connect a DC supply across that bulb, it will glow, and it is a resistive load, so it offers certain resistance. Suppose if you have any heating element, okay, which works on the DC, again that heating element is nothing but a resistive load that can be replaced with a one resistance. Active elements or sources are the elements of a circuit which possesses energy and it imparts energy to the circuit, like a voltage source or the current source. So active elements are the one which imparts energy to the circuits. Passive elements or sinks, also called as the sinks, are the elements of a circuit that consumes or dissipates electrical energy. In case of a DC circuit, resistor is a passive element. And before we actually jump onto the Ohm's law, let us understand some of the elements of the DC circuit. What are the different elements of the DC circuit? So far we heard about the electric current, and we heard about the voltage or the voltage difference or the potential, and we heard about the EMF, okay, electromotive force. So first thing is, what is a current? Anybody? What is a electric current?
Flow of electrons.
Very good. Okay, flow of electrons is called as a current. So current, if you understand, it is a flow of any material, that is, we call it as a current of that material. For example, if water is flowing, we say it as a water current, isn't it? Similarly, what is a current? Current is nothing but a flow of electrons or the electric charge in a circuit. And this flow of electrons or the electric charge happens only when there is a closed loop. Without the closed loop, the electric current will not flow. The flow of free electrons or electric charge in a closed circuit is known as a current. The unit used to measure the electric current is ampere. So electric current is represented with the unit ampere. This is the example here. These are the free electrons that are moving when voltage source is applied. So the direction of the electrons, as you know, it is opposite to the conventional direction of the current. So let us just focus with the conventional direction of the current. That current flows from positive plate through the load, and it comes back to the negative plate. The movement of electrons will be from negative to positive terminal and conventional current is from positive to negative terminal. And the strength of electric current is the rate of flow of electrons. Okay, so what is the strength of the electric current? How strong is the current? It is depends on the rate of flow of electrons, electrons or the electric charge in a conductor. So when I say 10 amperes of current, so certain amount of electrons are flowing per second. So rate is per unit time. So if I say 100 amperes is the current, then the amount of electrons that are flowing in unit time or per second is much more than the 10 amperes. So that defines the rate of flow of the electrons, defines the strength of the electric current. If rate of flow of electrons is higher, then the electric current is higher, the strength is higher. If the rate of flow of electrons is lower, then the flow of current is less. With that definition, okay, the current is represented as Q by T. So it is the rate of flow of electric charge. Q is the charge that is represented in coulombs. So that is how we can represent current I is equal to Q divided by T. And what is the charge, total charge that flows? It would be equal to the number of electrons that are flowing into E. E represents the charge on single electron, and it is a fixed value. The charge on single electron is equal to 6 to minus 19 coulomb. So current can be represented I is equal to Q by T or N into E divided by T. Suppose in the any problems, when we have to use Q by T or when we have to use N into E divided by T is like if they're given let us say the question asked is X amount of charge flows in a certain time, then they have given directly the charge. If they say like 2000 electrons flow in a particular circuit in 5 seconds, then that count we have to take and multiply with the charge on a single electron, that is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. That time we can use this particular formula. So next is electric potential. I told you electric potential, voltage, EMF source, potential difference, voltage difference. You can use this synonymously. Okay. So what is an electric potential? Okay. So if you see this particular example, we have very similar type of water tanks. Both are exactly the same, and just assume that both the tanks are completely full. This is also completely full, and this is also completely full. So if I open this tap, okay, this is, you can call it as tank A and tank B. If I open this tap and water flows from here, and if I open the tap here, water flows from here. So if I open the tank A and tank B, which water flow will be much stronger? Tank A or tank A? Why do you think it is tank A?
It's at a greater height, so.
Correct, very good. Correct, very good, very good. So because even though the amount of water is same, the height is more. So the potential energy stored in this particular water is higher than the potential energy stored in this water. Why potential energy stored in this water is higher? You will do work in order to move the water to this particular tank. Okay. So when you are moving, so in this case, let us assume we have a pump. So when we are pumping water to this tank, we are doing more work, right? More work is done in filling this particular tank compared to this one. When work done is more, that work done is stored as a potential energy. So this particular water has a potential energy, and with that potential energy, it can do the work. Okay, so this is a representation of the work. When you open the tap, water comes out. let us say you have put some kind of a turbine or so. It will start rotating that turbine. This turbine will rotate with a higher speed compared to, let us say, assume there is a one more turbine here. The reason for that is the amount of work done by this particular water tank is higher because it has a higher potential. Okay, so similar, now you understood the potential energy with respect to the water. Similarly, in case of a electrical entities or the electrical bodies, we can do work to charge the body. Okay, so we have certain electrical body, we do work and we charge that body. If we have done more work, the amount of charge would be higher. Okay, if you have any question, you can interrupt me, no issues. Okay, so amount of work done is more, the amount of charge on that particular body is more, and when amount of the charge is more, it has a higher potential to do the work. So the body with the higher electrical charge will have a higher capacity to do the work. So electric potential, work needs to be done to charge any body. So similarly, you are filling the tank. For filling the tank, you have to do the work, isn't it? Similarly, in order to charge any body, we have to do the work. So work needs to be done in order to charge any kind of a body. And whenever we do the work and we make the body to get charged, that work done is stored as a potential energy in that particular body. Now the tank, you have filled it, the tap is closed. Now whatever the work you have done is stored as a potential energy and it can do the work. Now we have done work to charge an electrical body. Once the electrical body is charged, it has a potential energy and it has the capacity to do the work. The capacity of the charged body to work is called as its electric potential. So what is the electric potential? Electric potential is the capacity of the charged body to do work in a in a circuit is called as electric potential. Now what kind of a work is done in an electrical circuit? The kind of a work done in an electrical circuit is moving the electrons in a closed circuit, isn't it? So when we have a body which is charged with a higher potential, it has a capacity to do more work. Okay, so with respect to the electrical terminology, you must have seen voltage sources, different types of voltage sources, 10 volt, 20 volt, 50 volt. When I say 20 volt potential, means that body, particular electrical body is charged, work is done so that we have 20 volts of charge on it. When we put this particular charged body in a closed path, it will do the work. And if I have 50 volt, that means more work has been done. So amount of charge on that particular body is much higher than compared to 20 volt. Right? If you consider the battery cells, 1.5 volt, okay, and let us say you have one more battery with the 5 volt. The 1.5 volt battery has a lesser charge, okay, compared to the 5 volt. The 5 volt, more work has been done on that 5 volt, so that more charges are there, so that it has a higher capacity to do the work. So in brief, what is electric potential? Electric potential is the capacity of the charge body to do the work in an electrical circuit. That is called as a electrical potential. And electric potential V is equal to work done per charge. So work done is given by W and divided by Q. The unit for work is joule and the unit for the charge is coulomb. The electric potential or the voltage can be represented as a with the unit of joule per coulomb, or simply we can represent it as a volt. So what is electric potential? It is work done per the charge. That is work done divided by the charge. it is represented in terms of a volt. A body is said to have an electric potential of 1 volt if 1 joule of work is done to give it a charge of 1 coulomb. So when we say the electric potential is 1 volt, if 1 joule of work is done to charge a certain body with 1 coulomb, then that particular charged body, we can say it has an electric potential of 1 volt. Now, next is the potential difference. Okay, let me go back to this. Just assume that this particular tank A and B are at the same height. Okay, both are at the same height, and you connect them. Clear? And both the tanks are completely full. And the two tanks are connected. Just assume that the two tanks are connected at the center. Okay, so otherwise we will see the same example. Okay, so just assume that this is tank A, this is tank B, and both are connected with a pipe, and in the center we have a valve. And if you see, this is at a lower level and this is at a higher level. Now this is a tank A and this is tank B. If I open the valve, will there be any flow of water between the tanks? Will there be any flow of water between the tanks? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. From if I say this is tank A and this is tank B, how the water will flow?
B to A, sir.
B to A. Why B to A? Why B to A?
Water level.
Sir, up to equal water level.
Okay, what you said is correct. Water will flow until both the levels are equal. But why water will flow from this tank to this tank?
Water pressure is more in B.
All right. Okay. So you got what is the concept behind it? It is potential is more. So if you see here, just if you draw a straight line, okay, until this point, okay, we have more water column here. So this much potential energy is, this water column is having more potential energy compared to this one. So until, because this is at a higher potential compared to this one, the water will start flowing to the other tank, and water will flow until both water tanks are at the same level. Means both the water tanks will be at the same potential. Similar to that, if you assume this is one electric body and this is another electric body, the voltage will, the current will flow only when there is a voltage difference. And let us say this body is at 10 volt and this body is at 5 volt. If you connect those two electric bodies, this body is at a 10 volt higher potential, this is at a lower potential. So the electric charges start flowing towards this body which is at a lesser charge, and the current will excuse me, current will start flowing until both are at the equal potential. Now initially it was 10 volt, this was 5 volt. So current, the electric charges will start flowing, the current will start flowing, and current will start flowing until this body becomes 7.5 volt and this body also becomes 7.5 volt. So what is when the current will flow? Current will flow only when there is a potential difference or the voltage difference. If there is no voltage difference, suppose you are connecting two bodies, this is 10 volt, this is 10 volt. If you connect it, electric current will not flow. If you are connecting two tanks which are completely full, just assume both the tanks are full, water will not flow. Okay, water will not flow in this particular pipe. Water will flow only when there is a difference in the water levels. Why there? When the water level is different, the potentials are different. When the potential is different, then only the current will flow. That potential difference is nothing but the difference between the this potential minus this potential. That is called as a potential difference. In terms of electrical terminology, if we have one body at let us say 10 volt and another body 5 volt, the potential difference between them is difference of their potential. So 10 minus 5, that is 5 volt, is the potential difference between those two bodies. And potential difference can be represented as PD or voltage or EMF. So it can be represented with the synonymously with those other terminology. Potential difference. The difference in the potential between two charged bodies is called as a potential difference. For example, we have a one body here, which is body A, which is charged to 5 volt plus 5 volt, and this particular body B is charged with the 3 volt. If I connect these two bodies and there is a potential difference between them, what is the potential difference between them? 5 minus 3, 2 volts. 2 volts is the potential difference. If I connect these two bodies, definitely this body which is at a higher potential, the electrons will start moving, okay, towards the B. Just we will take the conventional current. So current will start flowing from the body A to body B until both the potentials are exactly the same. So when both becomes 4 volt, when current starts flowing here, both will become 4 volt, then current will stop. When two bodies A and B are connected through a conductor, then current flows conventional. So always focus on conventional. Let us not get confused with the flow of electrons. From higher potential to lower potential, always current flows from a higher potential to lower potential until both the body attains the same potential. So current will flow only when there is a potential difference, and it will flow until there is a potential difference. When the potential difference becomes 0, current will stop to flow. Next is electromotive force. What is the electromotive force? It is the force which circulates or tends to circulate electric current in a closed circuit. So this is called as a EMF source. Okay, EMF source, voltage source, all are same. What it will do? It will circulate or tend to circulate the current in a closed path. Whenever there is a closed path, it will tend to circulate. It will make the current to flow. That is called as a electromotive force. Here example, we have a electromotive force E is equal to 5 volt. When we connect it in a circuit, it will make the current to flow. And how much current will flow? It depends on what is the resistance values. Based on the resistance values, the amount of current will be decided. Now, if you see here, when we are connecting this body, this positive plate is at a higher potential and negative plate is at a lower potential. So the current will flow from here to here. When we are tracing this particular circuit, the current will flow from A to B. And what is the voltage difference? Voltage across resistor R1? VAB. That means what? VAB is actually voltage at A, VA minus voltage at B. So this node is at a higher potential compared to this node. Why A is higher potential? Because the current is flowing in this direction. Okay, when current is flowing in this direction, the potential at node A is higher than the potential B. And if we see the current here, the current will flow in from B to C. That means the voltage at B is higher than voltage or the potential at C. The potential difference or the voltage difference is VBC. VBC is VB minus VC. That is voltage at node B minus voltage at node C. EMF is source of voltage. The devices like battery are the sources of the voltage. If you have seen the battery, any kind of a battery, dry batteries, alkaline batteries, you must have seen the batteries in the two-wheeler, four-wheeler. So all those are EMF sources, like all are DC voltage sources. It is a measure of energy that batteries gives to each coulomb of charge. And potential difference VAB, the potential difference VAB excuse me, is the measure of energy used by the load or energy used to move 1 coulomb of charge from A to B. Okay, that is the or a simple definition is the voltage difference between the node A and node B is called as the VAB. That is the potential difference across resistor R1. Okay, what is resistance? You already aware of that. What do you understand by the resistance?
Opposition to current.
Opposition to current.
Opposition to current.
Very good, very good. So, what is the resistance is, as the name suggests, the resistors, they have the resistance, and that resistance is for the flow of electric charge or the flow of the electrons. The opposition offered by a substance to the flow of electric current is called as a resistance, and it is a property of the material, right? Every substance has a different resistance. Some material or the some substances, they offer very less resistance to the flow of the currents. Means flow of the currents in the sense they allow the electrons to flow through their body. Okay, if they offer less resistance to the flow of the electrons through their body, we call it the particular material has less resistance. And if there are certain material which offers very high resistance, they will not let electrons pass through their body. Such material or such substances we call materials with a very high resistance. Basically, what resistance is the opposition to the flow of the electrons through their body. The substances or the materials which offer very less resistance to the flow of electrons, they are called as conductors. Means example for the conductors is we have copper. Copper is widely used. If you see all your wires which you use for connecting the all the devices, all those wires predominantly they use the copper, right? And second material is the aluminum. Second most used is aluminum. If you have seen the transmission lines or your distribution lines near your houses, all those wires will be there. Most of the time they will be using the aluminum. And if you have seen the transmission lines, if you are traveling from city to city, you will be seeing big towers with transmission lines. Those are all aluminum. So aluminum, copper, silver, they offer very less resistance to the flow of the electrons. So we call them as conductors. And there are certain substances which offers very high resistance. Those are called as insulators. Example for the insulators. Can you tell me the examples of insulators?
Rubber.
Rubber, wood,
Plastic.
plastic, correct, glass, right? And if I ask you, wood,
Wood.
correct, that is correct, very nice. And which one is more important with respect to electrical and energy, whether conductors are more important or the insulators?
Insulator. Conductor.
Okay, one person said conductor and one person said insulator. Why conductor first? Any reason for conductor?
They are used for. They are used for, sir, flow of current.
Correct, very good. Because we don't want to waste all the current in wire itself. We need it for having a good flow of electrons. That is correct. And someone said insulator. Why insulator is important? That is perfectly correct. Insulator is also very, very important. So if in your household, everybody has seen wire, I am 100% sure, right? What is that wire? What are the things that are there in the wire?
Phase, neutral phase and earth.
Huh. What is inside the wire?
Copper.
Copper is there. And outside?
Insulating wires. Insulating.
Very correct. So we have some kind of a insulator, most of the time plastic. Okay, plastic will be having a very soft plastic or rubber kind of a material. Why insulators are both are important is for having Shirish, correct, both are equally important. Without each of them we cannot work. We need both conductor as well as the insulator. Why we need conductor? As someone said, to have a free flow of electrons without any problem, we need conductors. And insulators will insulate the conducting parts, because this electrical energy, humans or any living being should not come direct contact with the electric current, right? It is very dangerous depending upon amount of voltage. So higher the voltage, more dangerous it is. So we should not, human beings should not come in contact, or any living being should not come in contact with the conducting wires. That is, should not come in contact with the conductors. That's why on top of the conductors we have the insulator, so that we can easily manage the electricity. So that's why conductor is important. Also insulators are important. And if you have seen the transmission lines, there we just use the conductors, because they will be at a very high level, maybe like 50 feet, 60 feet, 70 feet, very high. And the living beings will not come in direct contact with those wires, live wires. That is why we use only the conductors there for the transmission, so that we can reduce the cost. And if you had seen the towers, on top of the towers the wires will go. If you closely see, you will see some porcelain structures there. Why the porcelain structures are? Those are insulators. It will insulate the tower from those live wires. Okay, that is how the tower will not carry any conductor. Basically, towers will be insulated. Towers are there just to provide as a support, and the tower is insulated from those live wires. Okay. Okay, now we know what is a resistance, okay, and what is a conductor, what is a insulator, and resistance is measured in terms of ohms. Resistance is said to be 1 ohm if a potential difference of 1 volt across its end causes 1 ampere to flow through it. Means if we apply 1 volt of potential difference, or the voltage difference across a resistor, and 1 ampere current flows, then we say that the amount of resistance offered by that particular resistor is 1 ohm. So what does the resistance depend on? Already I put it in the slide. So what are the what resistance depends on?
Area of cross section.
Area of cross section, correct. How it is dependent on area of cross section?
Inversely proportional.
Very good. So how you can think about this is, if area is more, right, more electrons can flow. So that is why the resistance would be less. If area is smaller, then the space provided for the flow of electrons is very less. So resistance would be more. Any other factor? Area of cross section?
Length of wire.
Length. Okay. Length, it is directly proportional or inversely proportional?
Directly proportional.
Directly. Very good. So as the length increases, the resistance increases. That is area of cross section and length. Anything else?
Temperature.
Temperature, very good. Okay. So but the temperature is the very, very important factor. With the temperature, the resistance changes, and the relation is not very direct. It depends on different kind of a material temperature. Anything else? It depends on the, one more thing is the material itself. So it's a material property. So copper has a different resistivity, and aluminum has different resistivity. It depends on the resistivity of the material. So resistance of a conductor is directly proportional to the length, As length increases, resistance will increase. Inversely proportional to the area of cross section means as the area of cross section increases, resistance decreases because we have more space for flow of the electrons, so resistance is less. If the area decreases, area of cross section decreases, the space given for the flow of electrons is less, so it offers more resistance. Depends on the nature of the material, depends on the temperature. And if we put together the relation, R is directly proportional to L by A, or R is equal to rho L by A, where rho is the resistivity or the specific resistance. This resistivity or the specific resistance, it is constant for given substance. Resistivity or the specific resistance is constant. Resistance is not constant. Resistance depends on the length, cross section, and all those things, but resistivity of a particular material is constant, and it is represented as ohm meter. Next, we will start with the Ohm's law. So now we understood voltage, current, resistance, all these things. The relation between all these entities is given by the Ohm's law. So we will see the Ohm's law in the next class. Okay, please hold on. I will take the attendance. I'm trying to stop the recording. Once I stop the recording, don't put it in the chat section. I'm going to take it verbally. Okay. So you can unmute and give your attendance. Roll number 1.
Yes, sir.
Roll number 2. 3.
Yes.
Next 4.
Present, sir.
5.
Present, sir.
6.
Yes, sir.
7.
Present, sir.
8. 9.
Present, sir.
10. 11. 12.
Present, sir.
13.
Present, sir.
14.
Present, sir.
15. 16. 17.
Present, sir.
18. 19.
Present, sir.
20. 21.
Present, sir.
22.
Present, sir.
23. 24. 25.
Yes, sir.
26.
Present, sir.
27.
Present, sir.
28. 29.
Present, sir.
30.
Present, sir.
31.
Present, sir.
32. 33. 34, 35.
Present, sir.
Okay. 34 is present.
Yes, sir.
35,
Present.
36,
Present, sir.
37,
Present.
38,
Present, sir.
39,
Present, sir.
40,
Present, sir.
41,
Present, sir.
42,
Present, sir.
43,
Present, sir.
44, 45,
Present, sir.
46,
Yes, sir.
47,
Present, sir.
48, 49,
Present, sir.
50,
Present, sir.
51,
Present, sir.
52,
Present, sir.
53,
Present, sir.
54,
Sir, 48.
54 is present. 55,
Present, sir.
56.
Present, sir.
Okay, anybody missed their attendance?
Sir, 34.
Okay. 34 is given. Anyone else who missed the attendance?
Sir, 309.
Huh. 309 is there.
Sir, 45.
45. Yeah, it is given.
Sir,
10, no?
sir, 16. 26.
16, 10, 16, I got it.
26.
26. 26 is given. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you in the next class.